It is MS Awareness Week, and we are really working hard to understand more about multiple sclerosis and really give it some much needed attention. So the doctor has been in, nurse practitioner Dr. Omar Khan from Wayne State and the DMC, and nurse practitioner Chris Kaon. Thank you both for being here. I know it was busy in the chat room, people asking good questions. And of course, Anqunette is joining us because she too has been diagnosed with MS. And
thanks to the good people at DMC and Wayne State.
We talked a little bit about the diagnosis process, and that can be quite excruciating because you don't know what's happening to your body, right?
Excruciating. I think that's funny because when Deena asked about diagnosis, you guys left out the spinal tap. I did hear the lumbar puncture. It's one of the ways that you diagnose, one of the complementary tests, I should say. But as so many people who are on this journey with us, 18,000 here in Michigan alone and counting every day, it's an adjustment. You get used to it. You really have no choice, and we're lucky enough that we have some treatments available. Most of us do. For people with progressive forms of MS, they do not. That's also part of the whole push on the MS Awareness Week. And let's talk about research, because you all are doing fantastic research, groundbreaking research at Wayne State. What are some treatments, or what are some options, or what's being developed down the road when it comes to stem cell research? What can be done to help people who have progressive forms of MS, who are in wheelchairs, their lives are limited because of this?
So just this past week, there were 3 studies involving stem cells, or so-called autologous stem cells, which are obtained from the blood. 3 studies done in different parts of the world, 2 in the US, 1 in Europe, all showing that there is promise, but larger studies need to be done. There are additional studies being done with molecules that specifically target myelin and with the potential to remyelinate in the brain and spinal cord. These are new shifts for us in the field, because for the past 20 years we have focused on an inflammatory part of the disease, which was very important to get treatments on board, and so people who have MS can benefit from them right at the onset. The question you pose is about progressive disease, where there is a clear need, an unmet need, and I think the paradigm shift is that now we have a concerted effort on progressive disease with therapies like autologous stem cell transplant, remyelinating strategies, all pointing towards the fact that we are now focused on how to improve the outcomes for our patients who have progressive MS. That's what you're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years. I see a variety of treatments coming out, but I always remind myself and patients that we see, you do come across lots of successes, but it does take a few failures before we succeed. So that's important to keep in mind in science.
Chris, when you deal with patients on a day-to-day basis, and it's the unpredictability of this disease that is so frightening for so many people and frustrating, so how do you help people cope with this every day?
Trying to keep the positives in mind, keeping the hope in mind, as Dr. Khan is talking about. We have 14 therapies that are available now, so if we can, stay focused on the positive and patients' abilities rather than their disabilities, I think that's a huge way of trying to keep the life in perspective for them.
And the treatments, what are the daily treatments like? Do you take drugs every day? Are they shots? Or what is the variety?
And along the lines of that, when you answer that question, let's talk about people who choose not to take treatments as well, because that's a huge thing in the MS community right now. People are saying, I'm going to forego these treatments, which could be shots every day, every other day, once a week, once a month. They vary. Pills as well. But some people are saying, I'm going to go gluten-free. That's huge right now. I'm going to take vitamin D. I take 10,000 milligrams a day. Is it working? Am I wasting my money? When you have people who say, I want to take the non-drug approach, what do you say to them? I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, I'll answer that. A lot of patients, you have to think about the long term of living with this disease. It's a long run. It's a marathon that we're talking about when we're trying to get patients to stay on therapy, be adherent to the therapy. If they don't take them, then they can't work for them. And these therapies are really showing to make some significant impact in slowing down the progression of the disease and slowing down the disability that a patient will have with this disease. So even though a patient may feel well right now, no symptoms, no relapses, I'm thinking about, you know, them living with the disease for the next 30, 40 years. So that's what I try to instill in patients, and why therapy now is really important for you in the long run.
And it's not all physical symptoms as well. Connie, I'm sorry, but our producer, she's like, this is like way over. But there are also cognitive issues as well. And we can talk about that in the chat room, hop in. But still, it's not just physical, it's mental too.
Yeah, it's the brain and the
Yeah.
body. Well, thank you both. We know that you're busy, and you're going to continue the conversation in the chat room, answering more questions, because clearly there's a lot to talk about. It's myfoxdetroit.com, and we'll send you back to the chat room right now. Thanks again for being with us,
Thank
guys.
you both.